Joining us now in Studio B, BYU TV basketball analyst, our good friend Anson Windor. Anson, have you ever seen anything like that dunk rejection by the net ever in a basketball game?
No, I haven't seen anything like that before. I saw one from Gary Payne from Oregon State. He made the dunk, and then he dunked it so hard it went back into the hoop again. But I've never seen
the net one again?
Yeah, rejected like that before. That was unreal.
Are you always going to wear a sweater, by the way? Like, should I just always wear a sweater when you're on?
Yeah, that would be cool. But
okay, because I would have worn one. It is like a blizzard today. It's crazy.
Yeah, see, I just expect it to be cold, especially being from Vegas. It's like I'm kind of a wuss, so I got to put a sweater on every day.
That's fair.
Do you want the Raiders to go to Vegas?
Yes. Any type of pro team we will take, whether it be hockey, soccer, basketball, football, something to cheer for.
You've already got a pro team in Vegas, isn't it BYU?
Oh, my God. What? What are you talking about?
Hey, come on, man. Closest thing to, UNLV basketball, I guess, is a pretty big deal down
big thing. But
Anson Windor with us in Studio B on BYU Sports Nation. You said that the BYU defense was very impressive, probably the best you've seen them all year. Why make a statement like that after the game against Pepperdine?
Because you could see how they held them to such low numbers from the field and from the three-point line. It just shows how it's finally paying off, and you're starting to see them make big strides on the defensive end and just cause problems for Pepperdine. And it was good to see, and it's promising for the rest of the year. If they can keep this going, who knows what will happen, especially against Gonzaga and St. Mary's.
And I thought it was important in the beginning of the second half where BYU's offensive half-court game was stagnant. It was bad. They weren't making shots. That I think that kept BYU in the game, especially when Pepperdine made that run.
Yeah, we've seen games in the past where BYU will have trouble scoring on the offensive end and then not be able to stop them on the defensive end, and they get behind by large amounts. So to have them kind of keep them in the game with their defense was surprising, but also good to see.
We heard Quincy Lewis, one of the assistant coaches and the defensive coordinator, if you will, for BYU basketball, talk about how the zone was effective in the 2-3. Did you see anything specific that BYU did in their zone defensive scheme that worked so well to prevent Pepperdine from shooting the three-pointer? Well, I think Pepperdine was, like 3 for 25 or something, or 3 for 22 from the three-point line?
They were just a lot more active. It seemed like they were getting the shooters. Every shot was contested for Pepperdine. They made them try to force it into the middle and eventually start trying to dump it down into the post. And once they realized they couldn't get the shots they wanted to get. So BYU did a great job of just having active hands and just causing problems on the perimeter.
BYU's won 16 in a row at home. The last 6 of your senior year plus 10 this year. What is it that makes BYU so much more effective at home? We keep saying this whole season, but we keep seeing it manifest itself.
I think it's the energy of the crowd. I mean, Saturday night I went to the game, and that was as loud as it's been in a long time. I think that plays a huge factor, especially for a team like Pepperdine who doesn't play in an arena like this on a regular basis. And then you have a team like BYU who's so used to playing at home and does so well at home. It just plays a huge factor in these games, and you could see it as they pulled away late on Saturday.
I thought the Rock was amazing. BYU's student section were the Cougars, as Kalani Sitake called them, the Rowdy Rock. And you'll hear from Kalani Sitake that speech coming up. They were amazing. I mean, all the way, they're like 500 feet away from the court, but they're still there.
Yeah, I mean, it's unreal. They play such a huge part in these games. When the team is down, they can keep you in it on the defense and offensive end, and it just showed tremendously on Thursday and Saturday.
Last week on the show, you said Pepperdine and Portland were your 2 toss-up games for BYU. They'll both take place in the Marriott Center. Pepperdine, of course, ended in a win. Portland still to come. Has that shifted at all? Have your toss-up games, or at least in terms of what games you're most worried about at home, has that shifted at all after a week?
No, I don't think it's shifted. I think it's even made me more excited about these games coming up because, for one, Portland is a winnable game. They caught heat down in Portland, but they will have to come to the Marriott the same way St. Mary's does and Pepperdine does. And I don't know, it's exciting. I think St. Mary's, that'll be an interesting game because, for one, they haven't played in an arena like this year.
They haven't been out of the state.
They haven't been out of the sate. So for them, just the fact that they're leaving California is going to be a shell shock for them.
They've hopped on a plane to play a game, I think, one time.
Southern California.
Are you kidding me?
Whereas you look at BYU, and they've been gone for weeks at a time.
BYU's played more road league games than St. Mary's has played road games
overall
this year. Okay, yeah. St. Mary's is a good team, though. I watched them play, and I go, That's a good team.
Yeah.
Like, that's an NCAA tournament team. That's probably a single-digit seeded team as of right now. However, I think it's fool's gold to a degree because they played 15 road games and, like we mentioned, haven't hit the road. What do you expect Thursday? What do you think will happen?
I hope, like years prior, BYU kind of jumps on them early. They get off to a good start, and St. Mary's is so well coached, and their schemes are so vital to what they do and what they do well that I could see them causing BYU problems through courses of a game. But I think if BYU can stay on it and control the game like they have, in games prior, we could see a W kind of come BYU's way.
Sorry, go ahead, John.
The beginning of that game was a struggle for BYU where they got down big. Let's see, largest lead, 15. BYU trailed by 15, I guess, in the second half. BYU doesn't get those kind of holes at home, right?
Definitely. I don't see. I mean, I hope BYU doesn't go down 15 at home. And I think aside from Gonzaga, when BYU goes down by a large amount, it's usually hard for them to come back. So I expect them to be more, anxious and more excited and have a ton of energy going into this game because, for one, this is the biggest game of the year.
It's the game of the century.
Game of the century,
yeah.
Some may say.
Live on BYUtv.
So I think having the top team in the league come to your place on a Thursday night, especially when they haven't been away from home, and you guys are playing well. You guys played a great week last week. It's exciting.
Coming off the win against Pepperdine, you would think that would be advantageous, especially mentally for BYU, knowing like, hey, we beat a team that's a tough matchup for us. And in your mind, a tougher matchup for BYU than even St. Mary's. So the Cougars and Gaels on Thursday night. Let's talk about the individuals involved on Saturday night in terms of record-setting performances. Kyle Collinsworth is now the leading rebounder and assist man for BYU basketball. That just doesn't happen. So how do you explain what he is doing as a point guard, Anson?
It's weird because he's not just a point guard anymore. He's like a 1 through 5. He's almost like a Magic Johnson, it seems like, because he does everything, and it's almost expected. I looked up at the scoreboard, and I was like, wow, Kyle only has 3 rebounds? What's going on? And you expect 10. You expect 10 with
he would have had a triple-double.
Yeah, before the first half is over, you expect 10, 10, 10. You expect the triple-double to come even earlier. So it's impressive to see him do everything on the floor, from passing to shooting to getting assists for his teammates and playing defense. It's impressive to see.
The irony of him setting the rebound record in that was that he only had 4 in the game. Like that was a low number for him, right? He had 10 assists. He hit a 3-pointer offensively at 13.6 of 9, I think 10 minutes into the game or something. So he did what BYU needed to do in there. When did you know, playing with Kyle for 3 seasons, or I think, was it 2 or 3?
2.
2. When did you know he was unique in his skill set?
Unique in his skill set. I think it was freshman year my redshirt year, he played right before his mission. And coach just kind of put him in and I said, hey, can you rebound or can you get assists? Can you score when needed to? And he was able to do all 3 of those things, especially, towards the end of the year when Brandon wasn't playing and he was asked to take on a bigger role. And you've seen Charles play a lot more as well. And I think those were glimpses of him showing that, hey, he can do more than just score, or, he can play defense, he can rebound, he can get assists.
BYU has the all-time scoring leader in Tyler Haws, graduate last year, and now the all-time assists and rebounds leader in Kyle Collinsworth on this year's team. But we should not forget about one Nate Austin, correct? Are you aware that he is only 10 personal fouls away from becoming the all-time personal fouls leader?
I joked about that I was sitting with Dr. Rich at the game, and I said, wait, Nate is going to lead BYU in rug burns, or floor burns, and fouls. And because he's on the floor a ton, and he fouls like no other. So I knew he had to be close, especially with the.
We love Nate. We're trolling so hard on him.
I love Nate. The plays that he's made throughout this year has contributed to BYU's success at such a high level.
Gonzaga.
He made the play of his career against Gonzaga, and that was a huge win for BYU, a much-needed win. So, him playing that hard, if that means BYU's going to get the wins that they have this year, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take the fouls.
He does so many things that I feel like we need to justify this. He does so many things away from the ball. His out-of-zone rebounding, his 50-50s, his layup, his ability to draw charges,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, which he hasn't done as much. I think as a fifth-year senior, he's like, I'm tired of getting bowled over,
now
man.
just try and block shots and, kind of contest and make shots tough for other teams. And he's done well. I mean, I love watching him play.
BYU basketball analyst Anson Windor with us on Studio B. It is a Monday. The Cougars are 59 in the RPI with a game against St. Mary's on Thursday and another against Pacific on Saturday.
You know what a win Thursday would do for BYU? It would say, okay, BYU's beaten Gonzaga and St. Mary's and Pepperdine. BYU can win the league, either in the regular, but more importantly, I think in Vegas. I think for the first time, and tell us how you guys always felt in Vegas. Was there something that was like, okay, we're going to have to do something special here, as opposed to maybe this year if BYU beat St. Mary's, they go, we've beaten these teams, we can do it.
Yeah. I think in the back of our minds the past couple of years going down to Vegas for the tournament was, man, we have to beat Gonzaga. And Gonzaga's always been deep, and they've always been a top team in the country. So you always struggle thinking, okay, well, we have to win 3 huge games, and with the final being against Gonzaga most likely, which it has been. So you beat St. Mary's on Thursday, and you say, wow, we beat everyone in the league that we need to beat. And, there's no definite wins for Gonzaga or St. Mary's going into the tournament. It's a toss-up.
What's more likely, Anson? This will be the final question. BYU goes undefeated at home this season, still with games against St. Mary's and Gonzaga on the table and Portland, or they win the West Coast Conference tournament in Las Vegas.
Ooh, that's interesting, because I'd love to see them win a tournament, but the way that they're playing at home, I don't see them losing at home. It's like a different team when you come to the Marriott Center and watch them play. The energy level, the activeness that the players show, and the way that they shoot the ball and score, I don't see them losing at home.
Yeah, generally there's a difference between teams playing at home and on the road. This is extreme. Jeremy used the word extreme. It's extreme this year.
Yeah.
And BYU right now has won 16 in a row at home, 10-0 this season. Anson, great stuff. Good to talk to you, man.
Guys, I appreciate you having me.